Hello? If I could just have your attention for just one moment, please. We're going to get the meeting started. Maybe. If everybody could find a seat. Okay. I'm Shay Hall, and I am the chairman of the DCOA board. We will now call a meeting of the DCOA to order. This DCOA meeting will be held jointly with the City of Abilene. We will also hold public comment jointly with the City of Abilene. I will now turn this over to our great, wonderful mayor.
Wahoo! Thank you, Shay. I would now call this meeting of the Abilene City Council to order. And before we get our program started about 3:30, I would now like to open up any time for public comment. So if there's anyone who would like to be in public or have public comment or have questions, the public comment area is over here. I can't see it, but it's over here. So if there is no public comment, I will close the public comment period, and we will begin here around 3:30. Thank you.
That's the third time just this week that alert's been triggered. But every time we reach out to our partners at the state and federal level, we can't find any signs or alerts of anything.
You say these alerts and incidents have been gradually increasing since you came in 2019?
Yeah, something about a shift in the Earth's surface and magnetic field. Very sporadic back then, but now, just this week alone, so much more activity. I need to take this up with Mr. Hanna.
Mr. Hanna, do you have a moment?
Yeah. Oh, hey, Vincent, how are you? I'm about to go to the State of the City. I was just reading some stuff, but yeah, what's up?
Something's been coming up on our alert systems in the Emergency Operations Center, and I think it's time we took a real serious look. Is this normal?
Yeah, it's become normal. I've called IT and facilities, and they're working on it, but I don't know if they're gonna get fixed. People pop out from time to time, and they wave hi and just leave the office, but mostly they're okay.
You know, it's interesting. It's like you've got some sort of black hole phenomenon. Oh!
It's so good to be back home in Abilene.
I'm sorry. You're from here. You went somewhere else through this black hole, and you're back.
Yeah, Abilene. It's getting better.
That's the black hole everybody's talking about. It's the thing that, keeps sucking the sound that keeps bringing you back to Abilene.
Yeah, look, all due respect, sirs, as the only Gen Z in the room, I can confirm. Abilene is fire.
The zoo is so awesome with a major expansion starting up, and so much growth with new businesses and restaurants, and investment in streets, a whole new animal services and pet adoption resource center, new rec centers growing up, and renovation of historic spaces. Don't even get me started on the outdoor flat field complex, plus great walking trails, full service tourism and convention services. Oh, and our state-of-the-art education opportunities, not to mention a super convenient airport to fly out of.
No cap. Abilene is slaying. With this much risk, people are going to want to be sucked back in.
Well, I can confirm that, sir. I'm reading it here on the internet, so it has to be true. This whole black hole thing is real, and continued improvement to the community and its offerings will only strengthen it and result in increased activity by way of people returning or making Abilene their new home.
If we could harness this energy somehow and get the word out to people, we could really make this like an economic development tool. It could be really powerful. We ought to get back to the State of the City, let people know about this. Do you think that black hole could take us there?
No, I wouldn't risk it.
Well, we better get walking then. Let's go.
Perfect.
Downtown's super walkable. Have you seen the new sidewalks? I heard they had to murder all these trees, though.
But these new healthy trees, much better for the area that we put in. That'll be finished later this year. Cypress Street will also have a whole new sound system and lighting, and a new pedestrian hangout closet space thingy, whatever. That's technically not part of the Cypress Street improvement project, but work may begin on that soon. Now, I realize no one really asked me, but you know what I think would be really cool?
Are they fantastic or what? Oh, great. So I'm Robert Hanna. I'm the city manager. This is my last day of the city. And before I introduce the mayor, I just want to say the reason why I'm retiring is this picture behind me. I have to take another one because I clearly don't look like that guy anymore. And I just refuse to do it. So, no, I want to go through some of the council strategies that we have set. They kind of lead, guide, and direct the decisions that council make on an annual basis. And they really are practicing effective governance, exercising sound financial discipline, creating a high quality of life for our residents, developing and maintaining reliable infrastructure. Those that lived on Maple or off of Maple, they really know that strategic strategy. I am sorry that it took so long to get Maple done, but it is now what I've been told close to being done. Consistently providing excellent service, encouraging economic growth, and actively fostering and seeking an engaged community. The mayor is going to talk about a variety of different projects that we've worked hard to do these last 12 months. Some are nearing completion, some really are just getting started. But there's something that I am professionally very proud of. Could not be done without an incredible team. And so before we get into the program, if y'all would do me the honor just giving a round of applause for all the men and women that serve our community as city employees. And then without further ado, I'd like to invite Mayor Weldon Hurt. Mayor?
Thank you, Robert. What a great day. I mean, just look around. This is fantastic, you know, that we can come together today and be together. I want to have some thank yous, if I could, before I get started. I want to send a sincere thank you to the council, to the rest of the council, and all the other elected officials that are with us today. The city administration, the city staff, I mean, just the staff that puts this together. We have so many good teams at the city, and I'm so appreciative of them. Our city boards and the volunteers that work on these boards to make so many things happen in our city. So grateful to you, as well as our partner boards and organizations that help us do so many things. A big thank you to the AISD technical team for setting all this up, the cameras and everything that they do. What an honor to have this group from AISD here with us today to do what they do. And our neighbors and our friends over at Dice Air Force Base, we can never forget to thank them and thank them for keeping us safe and keeping us free. Thank you, everyone, and all the military for your service. And last, I really don't hardly ever say this, and I feel kind of guilty, but I want to thank my family and my wife, Debbie. This is not a fun job for her a lot of times, and I am so appreciative of her and for what she does. So there are so many things that we could talk about today, but we're just going to hit a few topics. And these topics today, we're going to talk about the Cypress Street Improvement Project, as always, street maintenance, water and the future of water, quality of life and safety bonds on projects that we're doing, and something that this council is really proud of, our Rebuild ABI program. So Cypress Street, the first phase was completed in late fall. And those improvements right now include 20-foot sidewalks, street reconstruction, beautiful hand-paved intersections. And if y'all have not had the opportunity to look at those intersections, they are so beautiful. It's going to be something that we're going to be proud of for years and years for that improvement at Cypress Street. We've got some additional mid-walk crossovers, I know, like in front of the Paramount, so that our pedestrians are going to be able to utilize. And some new native landscaping that's going to fit more with our climate. So this is all going to create a pedestrian-friendly city center for our city. Phase 2 began January 6th, and then the third phase should be completed early summer around 2025. The completed project, lights, landscaping, everything should be completed in early 2026. So what you see now, we always call it's the price of progress, and we're so grateful for those people and the businesses that are down there, and they've worked diligently with our staff, and our staff has worked with them so much that we actually created a new position in the city. Some people call it Just Kate, but it is our downtown coordinator and infield coordinator, and we're so appreciative that Kate works with these businesses and that we work as a team while this project completes.
I'm Trisha Betts. I'm the owner, operator, lead designer at Flower Boss, and we're located off of Cypress Street. And we've been in business for 7 years. We've been at this location for 3, well, probably 4. It's a lot of work. It's hard sometimes, but it's very rewarding at the same time. And so sometimes when we're processing the flowers or whatever, I do think a lot of times this is so therapeutic. Like, I'm just grateful that I get to do it, so.
I often find calling myself conduit in some sense, in that a lot of folks are doing great things down here with their businesses, but they need a sense of a little direction, some guidance. As we continue to improve, they want to improve, we want them to improve their space, their facade, and so here I am offering sort of a line to say, hey, I have a question, and they can call Kate. So real quick, I found in the past 12 months, I think people will find it to be a real quick way to get to some answers. They feel a bit of a concierge to doing business downtown.
Economic development usually breaks along 2 planks. It's job creation, and you hope that the people whose jobs you create, the company you create, you hope they stick around. They may not. But the one thing that you know that you can keep in a town is quality of life. So when we're putting bricks in Cypress Street, Those bricks, they aren't going anywhere. They're not changing with economic conditions. They're part of the infrastructure that when people come to town and they're asking questions, is this place livable? They can answer the question as they point down that street and say, yeah, it really is. There are places you can live downtown, places you can dine downtown, and what you have downtown sort of radiates out into the community.
So when it first happened, I got super scared and just fear and was like, no, but I just almost instantly, it took me a couple of days, but I was like, you know what, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna get through this, we're gonna stay positive. And for the most part, it was challenging at times, like with walk-ins and things like that, but for the most part, we did okay. We did good.
How's it going? Good morning. We are working our way down the street, which is really exciting. That's great. We're moving to phase 2.
What always gave me peace of mind is they always kept us updated for each phase that they were doing. If I had any questions, Kate was always awesome and very helpful and understanding and communicated very well to what was going on. And if she could tell I was freaking out or something for a minute, she would do her best to help the situation. The improvements we are excited about. We're glad it's a two-way. So since the traffic is opened, it's been great. So we look forward to the end result. I think it's going to be gorgeous, and I think it's going to be great for Abilene.
That's good stuff. Now let's move on to everyone's favorite, street maintenance. I say this almost, it's an interesting subject because it's almost a cliche. It comes up in Abilene, every conversation you have, well, you should have put that money to streets. And I hate to use this analogy, but, if you don't turn left, you can turn right. So we have to make decisions sometime. And I think since 2018 and really 2015 when we started some bond packages to do some road repairs and maintenance, that we've actually done quite a bit better job. So we had a bond package in 2015, and then in 2018 we implemented the street maintenance fee. Since that time in 2018, we spent about $33.9 million of this designated fee on street maintenance. And the thing that I'm proud of on the designated fee is it can only be used for street maintenance. We cannot take that money, put it back into the general fund. So your street maintenance fee is doing what it really needs to do. That's fix and repair roads. There's also been an additional $22.7 million spent separately on other city monies and from DCOA funds. And so we are addressing our roads. So with everything that's been done, we've touched about 30% of our roads so far, and we have this, what we call the rainbow map. And what's really cool in the 5 years since 2018, going on 6 years now, is we're getting a lot more color on this. You can actually see how many of our roads that we are addressing and touching. And I look forward, think about in 5 years, this map we have to come up with some new colors. But anyway, we are addressing our roads. I think we're doing a good job. We can't help what was done in the past, but we are making it better. We're addressing our roads. We have a street maintenance advisory board that's appointed that helps. It's a group of citizens that helps us decide which roads we're going to use this street maintenance fee on. Some of the new projects in 2025 is the South 7th Work Zone, SB 10 Work Zone, Rebecca Lane from Cat Claw to Buffalo Gap, and we're kind of holding a little bit off on that one until TxDOT finishes Buffalo Gap Road. We don't want to overlap or overlay anything on that until they get that part complete so we can complete Rebecca Lane. South 14th, Willis to Sales, and North 18th from Willis to North Mockingbird. Like I say, the board helps decides, how we pick these, and they meet twice a year. These are open meetings. Anyone is welcome to attend those meetings. We've had entire neighborhoods show up, to let their voices be heard, and it's always a positive impact when we can hear from our citizens. But we are making some progress on our streets, and I'm very proud of what we're doing.
Yeah, we're in the Lytle Estates neighborhood, and we had an issue with our streets needing to be repaired.
And I think there was one tar and gravel job done maybe in 90 or late 80s.
If you take a walk, you've got to pick your spots where you want to walk around this deteriorating gravel and all the potholes, and that's just something we were all tired of.
If with your permission, I'd just have some photographs to pass around that are just samples of how bad the streets are.
A little lady got up and had pictures where she was walking and falling and had the bruises and scrapes, and so that has an impact with the board, and also the Lytle area is one of the oldest ones on the list also. So both of those factors helped us make the decision to do that.
The neighborhood kind of rallied together, and we tried to do our homework and be prepared, understand the issues, understand the policies of the city, and went and made our case. There were like about 20 of us. We all stood together and just made our case in front of the board. And I think that I believe it was the chairman, David Todd, who said to the other board members, well, we're always asking for citizens to have input, so here it is.
We encourage citizens and neighborhoods to come forward because there's a lot of projects listed and hadn't been a lot of input. So it helps when people do show up and show an interest of what we're doing.
Citizen participation. Get as many people there as you can, get organized, and they'll listen to you.
Let's move on to the king of all conversations in West Texas, water, water, water. I'd like to mention on our recent trip to D.C., where City Manager Robert Hanna and Councilman Brian Yates, we went and met with our legislators in D.C., and 90% of our conversation was about water, whether it be wastewater, some of the PFAS level things that we're going to have to deal with as a city, or Cedar Creek Reservoir, or a West Texas Coalition. We always want to let everyone know that water is always on our mind. And the future of Abilene depends on water. And we need more sources, and we need to take care of the sources that we have. And so some of the things that over the last decade that have happened, we've secured an additional 11 million gallons daily of new raw water. We've had some innovative reuse of treated water, about 8 million gallons a day that we can reuse water that we treat and reuse. We forged a new partnership with San Angelo and Midland to secure groundwater from West Texas from the Fort Stockton area. And that is a really unique opportunity that the state sees and our national legislators see, that we're trying to work together in our region. And that will bring a new source of water for us also. It's kind of a trade out the way it works with us in Midland and San Angelo. We will basically be getting allotment of water from Ivy that Midland will not take. But it's a really good partnership coalition that we've forged together with their city managers, our city manager, and their mayors to create this partnership to secure more water. We continue the permit process for Cedar Ridge. It's never easy. It's hard to build a reservoir. But we want the public, we want everyone to know that we continue to strive to keep that process going, to do everything that we can. Also, like I mentioned, working with our legislators about PFAS levels. There are EPA regulations that were put down with the last administration that almost makes it impossible for us to remove these levels because we really don't know how much is in our water, how much needs to be taken out, because this has actually never been done. And it has a potential to cost us $300 to $400 million over the next 5 to 10 years of real cost that our citizens will have to incur if we can't get these, if this situation under, and hopefully with this new administration, we can get to something that, is more manageable. What levels are manageable and what's safe for our public. But we're going to continue to exceed regulatory requirements and to offer excellent water and utility service. And I'd also like to recognize Rodney Taylor at this time. Rodney has dedicated almost 4 decades to the city of Abilene. And he will be retiring later this month. He will be missed. The knowledge that Rodney takes with him is we just can't replace it. And Rodney has been a dedicated person to this city and to this department. So let's celebrate Rodney's work and his legacy for the next generation. And let's hear from some young friends at Alley West Elementary who remind us of why water is important.
I started with City of Abilene and water utilities. I was looking for more of a stable job at that time than I was a career. But really early on, I became interested in kind of seeing these bigger things that were going on that were way above my pay grade at that time. That I'm 36 years in on a career. It's always evolving and changing, and so that keeps it interesting for me personally. And so I think I've done my role as expected, and hopefully we'll turn it over to the next generation, which is just the process we go through.
You know, the desert was an ocean, and then it dried a long time ago. And then someone farted in it. I think water's good to drink, and I think water's nice to have because without water, our earth would look disgusting. I don't like it when water doesn't come out of our fountains and stuff.
Well, I was brought in at the early stages of the Ivy projects. You know, at that time, that was our answer. That was Abilene's answer to its future water supply. But we continue to see that it did not solve Abilene's long-term problems. And I think now we realize that even the next project is just a step of many steps that over many generations that Abilene has been forced to take to be able to prosper in a place in the world where rainfall is hard to come by at times.
Mostly it's my mom. She says, did you turn the water off? And I'm with my dad sometimes when he's brushing my brother's teeth and he keeps on the water. And I'm like, you gotta turn it off.
For the high is 5-minute showers, and then the low, what they want you to do at our house is at least 2 minutes. Each time I try to get faster, so I go and then I'm done.
In the toilet. Because of toilet water.
Well, what's your flush? Where do you think it goes?
To the lake. For sharks to eat poop. There's a long pipe. Because I've seen in a movie, Finding Nemo, there was a pipe. You know, those nets? Those nets, they catch it. They catch the poop with their nets, and then even if they can let the pee, they vacuum it. Whenever the poop and pee go down, sharks don't eat it.
Abilene has just really taken off. It's exploded with interest, with increased population, with interest in business, commercially, industrially. That would not happen if we did not have a good, secure water supply. There's a lot of factors that go into that, but water supply is critical to developing a community that can support not only residential growth, but commercial and industrial growth. And Abilene has a history of always being ahead of the game. I feel like now we are still ahead of the game, but we cannot stop. Every time we take a major step, we celebrate that, and then we start on the next.
Going right there and say, Hey, where's the water so I can take a shower? We go to the ocean and then take all the salt out of it. Just like get a bucket and get it. We have to move somewhere else. No, I wouldn't want to do it, but if they all ran out of water, that's the only thing we have to do. Mm-hmm. Florida.
Y'all didn't know it was going to be so educational today, so it's pretty important. We don't want to run out of water, that's for sure, and I am not moving to Florida. So let's talk about some fun things. Let's talk about some quality of life and public safety projects and bond projects. In October, Allkind moved into the new Jane and Field Guitar Pet Adoption Resource Center. It is not a pound. This is an adoption center, resource center. If you haven't been by there, you're really missing a great opportunity to see a diamond that we have in Abilene, Texas now. And I just want to note that this facility was built with city funds, but $5.5 million of the funds that built that facility were private dollars that our citizens went out and raised to build this facility. It's a beautiful facility. We were so happy to have it, and just kind of wanted to put a note in. We are working on some more of pet type and breeding type ordinances that should be coming to your council pretty soon. We also moved the dog park. We made a commitment when we moved the dog park. We had to move the old dog park for the expansion of the AYSA flat fields and the zoo expansion. We made a commitment to our citizens that we would build another dog park. And we do have one. Behind the park now is the new dog park. It's a beautiful facility. It has runs for small dogs and large dogs. These runs are fenced. They're safe. We have a lot of fencing areas. There's a lot of more open areas for the bigger dogs. We actually have dog wash stations if you need a place to go wash your dog. And we have a lot of covered seating and pavilions out there, so you can actually have some events out there. And soon to be completed, we will have restrooms for our citizens to use. It's just a really nice asset and a nice opportunity for people to take their families out and not have to, your kids are having fun, we're playing with the dogs, and we got to go to the restroom, and they have the opportunity, they're able to stay there and enjoy that facility now. And just down the road is the Cedar Creek Walkway, which is a 10-foot wide walk and bike trail, extend from East-South 11th to East-North 10th. It's a really pretty area of town. If you hadn't had the time to go check that out, I strongly suggest you do. It's just a great addition, and for more walkability, we're trying to continuously have more walkability in our city. And for safety, we have the new Southside Fire Station located at Spur 707 and 8384. It's a great location. This is going to be a beautiful facility. And this is actually, we've rebuilt some existing stations, but this is the first additional station since the early 80s that Abilene has provided. And this is, it's going to serve far Abilene. We've had so much growth out in the far south side of Abilene that this is really going to serve our citizens out there tremendously. We broke ground in October of 2024, should be done early 2026. And this was about an $8 million bond project that came in at budget. We're so excited about that. But that's just one more of the things that we have. We're really looking forward to having that increase in safety out there. Our zoo is always a work in progress. We're still working on design from the 2023 bond dollars, but we are making some improvements as we can. But I want you to know we are diligently working to see how we can use those bond dollars to get our bond project done for our zoo. But right now we do have the new parking lot. The new Caribbean Cove exhibit is being completed. We're going to have an expanded sloth exhibit, new aviaries area, renovation to the kids area, and a full view warm holding exhibits next door to the zoo. So we continue to work to make our zoo better than it is now. And what a blessing our zoo is to our city. And right next to that, we have the Rock, the recreational outdoor complex that goes with the AYSA facility that's there, that's bringing the new flat fields. That land is being built on city parkland and leased to the AYSA for 40 years for $1. The city has partnered in some improvements out there to help with that facility, but the majority of that facility, and I would say over probably 90% of that facility, was built with private money. And once again, we're so proud when our citizens go out with an initiative like that and work and build and bring a facility like that that's going to be good for our entire city. Next are 2 new rec centers. We're getting 2 brand new rec centers, Cesar Chavez and Jimmy Daniels. Demolition has begun. Construction should begin in spring. A budgeted total of about $28 million through 2023 bond money. These are great projects. We look forward to the completion. This is part of our commitment to our community, and it also kind of works hand in hand with our infill incentives that your council has put forward. And I also want to mention, I didn't have a slide on, but Abilene Heritage Square, we've seen, it's fun to drive by there now. We're seeing a lot of work going on. That's where our downtown library will be, and so excited to see the progress of Abilene Heritage Square, and I've been told, I believe 2026 will be the completed date on that, and we look forward to partnering with Abilene Heritage Square.
Hey, no! Oopsies! ABCs, guys! A, B, C, D, E.
It's been incredible. The Dodge has been, as we call it, the Dodge, has been super successful for all indoor sports, from basketball, volleyball, and as of last year, some indoor pickleball. But our community spoke, and soccer and football became the next big thing that our city needed. And so our community stepped up in a big way to provide 10 massive soccer fields that will convert into really 30 smaller soccer fields. Sports is a great teaching tool from learning how to win and how to lose, how to prepare, how to plan, how to make maneuvers and adjustments and pivots in the middle of competition, and then deal with the frustrations of what that looks like. It's a very much so lines up with life. I'm glad those communities are having a place that they can call their home and their staple, but they don't have to travel very far.
Here we go, box out, box out. Ball, 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 ball. There you go, grab it, Walker, grab it.
It's so hard to find real tangible ways that you get to build community. And in these recreation centers, you get to see that. You get to see kids having fun. You're going to get to see folks running around tracks inside. You're going to get to see basketball being played, but more than anything, you're going to get to see the heart of our community coming together in these very tangible, physical locations where we'll get to have fun, we'll get to learn, and we'll get to see what it means to be an Abilene even more. We can lay this foundation for us to think about creative ways for us to come together as a community. And so such awesome opportunities there, such interesting parts of the facilities that I can't wait for folks to be able to come and experience.
Investing in the recreation and the parks and those things are going to be beneficial to enhance our communities, but also keep our graduates and our younger families to stay in Abilene.
All right, and let's move on to one of the projects that I am so proud of, and this council. I'm proud of this council for supporting this project. We had talked about infill development. We've talked about it for years, but we had really moved forward a couple of years ago, and really this is kind of the brainchild of Robert Hanna. We had visited some other cities around the state that were working on infill programs, and this infill program works on building single-family homes in some of the older neighborhoods of Abilene. And we looked at all different type scenarios, but this is Robert Hanna's brainchild, and the program has worked. It was introduced in 2024, and it actually gives incentives to home builders to build within these infill areas that we've designated to create single-family homes that are homesteaded. For home ownership, to have dignity and pride in these neighborhoods, home ownership is just a tremendous help. And a builder that builds in these areas can qualify up to about $35,000 in incentives. The builder needs to use locally purchased materials to do the project. The buyer has to occupy the home and homestead it for at least 2 years. We do have square footage standards, has to have brick or cement siding, they have to be nice homes, fences and yard improvements. The builder must be a member of the Big Country Home Builders Association because we really want to keep this local. We want to we want to incentivize this to our local builders. And we also have some incentives for some major remodels. There's quite a few qualifications they have to do, but we've actually had a few of those projects. So in 2024, we had 30 projects that entered into the Rebuild ABI program, where we allocated $997,409 of the $1 million. That was 28 new builds, 2 major renovations, and 10 builders participated. And so far, we've had 8 homes sold with dedicated homesteads to these residents. And so, I mean, people say, well, that's 8 out of 30. Well, it still takes a while to build a home and get them sold. I think the track record is looking really good, and this is something that we can measure. The program works so good, the first month of 2025 fiscal year, 95% of the funds have already been spoken for this program. So this program is working. It is breathing new life into our older neighborhoods. I can't tell this acting council now how proud I am that they're on board with this program, because it is something that's working. It's something that we can be proud of. We have so many things going in our community, but when we talk about infill, this program is working, and so I'm very excited about it.
We're here at 5290 Cuesta Drive. Come on in. This is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. We have a beautiful living room, dining room, and kitchen, completely renovated. We have our granite countertop island with our butcher block countertops in the back.
People ask me all the time, when I buy a house, it is not uncommon for me, for a house like the one you see behind me, I might buy it for X, but I'm investing 3 or 4 times the budget into a house like this. So when you're talking about profit margins, you're talking, they're not as high as you might think. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons that I appreciate working with the city, is that it allows me to do what I need to do, to put a house, to make a good house, quality, to do it right, to permit it, to pull all electrical, all plumbing, everything. It gives me I don't want to say a safety net, but it does help smooth off some of those rough edges.
I'm Jacob Smith. I'm with Coldwell Banker Apex here in Abilene. And we're in one of the newly renovated 4 bedrooms, 2-bathroom homes. It's according to the Taylor CAD, it's over 1,100 square feet. We did take into the garage, so it adds a little bit more space, some comfort, added amenities, and it fits the right price range for a lot of families who need that bedroom, but can't afford over $200,000.
People walk by and compliment it, and we'll have neighbors come over and say, hey, can I see the house? I've had the house down the street, they'd been there for 40 years, and so the grandmother came over, and she remembers being in the house 30 years ago, and she's crying, and she's like, could never have imagined that this house could be resurrected to that much. To take what I call, usually I'm taking the worst part, the worst house in the neighborhood, and turning into something that I can be proud of, that the neighbors can be proud of, the community can be proud of, but more importantly, the families that move in here, they can be proud of, and it's affordable. And I think that's a big part of why I do this, not just with the city, but why I invest in Abilene.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to hand this off to Mari, but there are so many things that we could talk about today. We just wanted to hit some highlights of some of the fun things and not so fun things of what we do at the city. I do appreciate all the staff, but I'm going to hand this off to Mari now. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you all for being with us here today. Before we get into what will be our panel discussion, and don't worry, panelists, you don't have to get up quite yet. Just wanted to touch base and say a big part for us to move and do a panel discussion this year. Of course, looking back at last year's event, we really wanted to hone in on one of those council priorities of seeking and foster an engaged community. So we felt like this is one place where we could, of course, make today a little more interactive, but also hear from folks and what those questions are. And so as you can imagine, our group and our social media team gets to read those comments, as I know many of you all have a social media team, and so we feel quite in touch with what people feel and think. But we did want to go ahead the last 3-4 weeks, ask folks to send in what other questions they may have, and so we have some content to go through with that. And then also, though, for now today, if you here in the audience have anything you'd like to ask or pose to the panel, that we do have some of our team members here with cards. So if you want to, raise your hand and they can come around and get you the cards, you can write that down. Or if you'd like to just go ahead and write that down, leave it in your seat, we will collect it. And if we aren't getting to a question here from today, we will certainly get back to you with an answer to that if you'd like to leave your contact information. You do not have to leave your contact information if you don't want to. But I'd like to invite our panelists who are joining us today. If you want to, at this point, go ahead and go meet Jen over there at that side door, and she'll get you all hooked up here with your microphone and get us up here on stage. We haven't talked about the stage actually has a hole, which we feel is quite fitting. There's a pit right here, so just be careful as you come around. We're going all out on our black hole theme. So you all are welcome to come here around the side. And while we do that, we'll just take a quick moment here to introduce you to our panelists. The best way to build community is with a strong team of organizations and individuals focused on creating the best version of Abilene for present and future generations. In Abilene, that team is made up of thousands of people whose commitment to service, entrepreneurialism, commerce, education, and safety is unmatched. Taylor County Judge Phil Crowley presides over the Taylor County Commissioner's Court along with a docket of approximately 800 civil cases a year. Judge Crowley is the Chief Emergency Management Officer for the county and works with his court to manage more than 600 county employees who provide vital services to residents across the big country. The education of more than 20,000 Abilene area kids is handled by the faculty, staff, and administration of the Abilene and Wiley Independent School Districts. On the far south side of town, Superintendent Joey Light has led the Wiley Bulldogs through phenomenal growth since taking on that role in 2008. By the year 2030, Wiley is projected to enroll well over 7,000 students. Dr. John Kuhn is ushering in a new era at Abilene ISD as he works through his first year as superintendent. Dr. Kuhn brings more than 27 years of experience in public education to his team as they strategically build upon AISD's legacy to provide the best education, training, and future for the district's 15,000 students. The membership of the Abilene Chamber of Commerce and its affiliate programs are on a mission to develop and promote Abilene's economy and quality of life through business resources, valuable benefits, advocacy, targeted programs, and specialized initiatives. Doug Peters has served as president and CEO of the Chamber since 2015, with more than 30 years of economic development and chamber experience in the role. A distinguished leader in economic development, Misty Mayo brings over 30 years of experience to her role as president and CEO of the Development Corporation of Abilene. Named a top 50 economic developer in North America, Mayo has led the DCOA's award-winning team to historic achievements, infusing more than $4.4 billion of new capital investment and over $19.4 billion in economic impact to Abilene's economy. Awesome. Come on up here to our panelists. Thank you. Thank you. And get comfortable here. As you get your microphones, there's a little toggle at the bottom that you just switch on over to turn on your microphones. Isn't this fun to sit here with these lights on you and everyone watch you sit on stage? Awesome, awesome. So if you get your little toggle over, and if you have any issue, you can hand down and I can help you with your toggle. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us today. So we'll get into some of the questions that we received ahead of time and move through. And what we'll do, we'll ask everyone a round of questions, and then we'll come back around for our second round and see where time takes us, so we can, of course, be mindful of everyone's time. And Nellie can help you with your toggles if you need it. Awesome. There we go. Well, I'll direct this first question here to Mr. Hanna and Mayor Hertz. And as we talked about water just a moment ago, let's continue to do that. In the presentation, we touched, of course, on securing water supply and the West Texas Water Partnership and continuing work in developing Cedar Ridge Reservoir is something that's still out there for us. So also just last Friday, we had council retreat, and that was, of course, part of the conversation as well that you guys talked about where to place that in priorities. So just kind of remind everyone here, how did that settle out Friday, and what exactly is happening with those initiatives to further secure our future water supply?
So we always have to. My toggle broke. So we have been talking about water since forever, right? It's that topic that's so important for Abilene, and Rodney Taylor and those children did such a great job of kind of illustrating the importance of that. But we have done a number of things over the last 10 years to really reinvest in our water supplies. The first, of course, was attaching to the Brazos Rivers Authority system with Possum Kingdom. And as we kind of come in and out of different water restrictions with the lack of rain we've had recently, we're getting ready to activate and start our Possum Kingdom system for the first time. We're probably about maybe 12 months away from that. So we'll be ready to go when we need it. So that's one outcome of the retreat. The other thing I would say is the Cedar Ridge Reservoir. We paused when we had what we perceived to be perhaps a less favorable administration in the White House on that project. And now we have what we perceive to be a more favorable administration. And we also went through COVID during that time. And so we're picking the Cedar Ridge project back up and pursuing it in earnest. The state of Texas is supposedly going to issue our draft water rights permit here in the next month or so, which will be very helpful. And then we'll start again in earnest with the Corps of Engineers to permit and construct the dam facilities. And then finally, with the West Texas Water Partnership, this is something that was really forward-looking. And Mayor Archibald was one of the main architects behind that. And we worked with the city of San Angelo and the city of Midland to pull about 25,000 acre-feet of groundwater in Pecos County. And now we're in the process of engineering and designing how this water gets to the various partner cities. So these things aren't easy to do, and it takes a commitment on elected officials' part throughout the times to do it, because every elected official comes in and has a new idea. But we've been very consistent and very lucky and very blessed with excellent political leadership, and I would expect that to continue under Mayor Hurd's leadership.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question here coming for Abilene ISD and Dr. Kuhn. The district has been very busy in strategic planning, as some folks may know, as you plan for our kids. And just a few weeks ago, AISD announced the first phase of change with the sunsetting of 2 elementary schools and kickoff of a choice program for elementary families. So could you explain just a little more of what we can expect here this coming year and the why behind these changes being made for the district?
Yeah, so about 9 or 10 months ago, I fell through that black hole and I landed in Abilene. And what an exciting time and an exciting place to be. Super, super excited to see all the things that are happening here. It's a great place to live. And the Board of Trustees, Abilene ISD, made it very clear to me when they offered me the job that they wanted me to have a vision with my team for the future of Abilene ISD. And I've always believed that what's good for a school district is good for a city, and what's good for a city is good for a school district. We have to work in concert to benefit this region. Abilene ISD has to be an asset for Abilene, Texas. We just saw this great collection of assets from the zoo to the youth sports centers and all of those things. Abilene ISD needs to make sure that we do our part to be something that people look at and say, I want to be a part of Abilene, Texas. When business owners look at this region and decide whether or not to move a business here, they need to know that we will provide a workforce for them, not just us and Wiley and the other schools as well. And then when residents are looking at these houses that infill is fixing up, they need to say, am I content, am I happy with the schools that are available for my children? And so I came here with that vision, and it's something I feel very deeply as an advocate for public education, that I owe it to this city to provide an excellent educational service for the people who depend on us, and also for the good of the future of not only this community, but the state and the nation. And so the Building Brighter Futures initiative that we have in Abilene ISD is all about that vision. I came here to work with a very talented team of people to make positive change happen and happen quickly for the good of this city and the good of the people we serve. So there are 4 components with Building Brighter Futures that I'll touch on as quickly as I can. The first one is transitioning from 13 elementary schools to 11. That's the hardest part. It's very difficult for people to look and say we're losing the campus in our community. But for us to operate efficiently and to efficiently utilize taxpayer dollars, which are in limited supply, and we don't want to be wasteful, it makes sense for us to transition from 13 to 11 campuses. Those 2 buildings, Ortiz and Thomas Elementary, will continue to operate next year for 2nd through 5th graders who choose to remain, and those who choose to transition to their new campuses. There's a process for them to choose the campus they'll go to, and we're doing that right now. Those buildings will continue to be used. We'll continue to honor the Thomas and Ortiz families by keeping those names attached to those buildings, but they're going to be used for different purposes in the future, and that's still being hammered out exactly what we're going to use those for. The parental choice pilot, or the school choice pilot that we're operating, we're taking 3 schools, Stafford, Martinez, and Purcell, and instead of saying, hey, you live in the Stafford attendance zone, you have to go to Stafford, what we're saying is, you live in the Stafford attendance zone, you can go to Stafford, or you can go to Martinez, or you can go to Purcell. You have choices. And that applies to all 3 of those campuses. They can choose any of those 3 campuses. There are school districts that do this. One of the school districts we visited with was Longview. They have open enrollment district-wide. And what they have found is that most people choose to remain at their community school, and so we anticipate most people will remain at their community schools. But giving people choices is a great thing. We want to satisfy our customers. We want people to be happy with the services that we offer. So we feel like the school choice pilot, it's very different. It's a very novel thing that we're doing. I don't think it's been done in Abilene ISD before, so we're excited about that. 2 other components I'll mention just real quickly is academic specializations. We heard loud and clear. We went on a listening tour, and we had a committee of community members and also staff, faculty. And we asked them, what do you want to see? What are your hopes and dreams for the future of Abilene ISD? And one of the things that we heard over and over again was we want more opportunities for advanced academics for our children. And so what we are proposing and what we're working towards is to take the Stafford model that many of you may be familiar with. Stafford does some really innovative things there. They do the Ron Clark Academy model, which is where kids are in 4 different houses, and it's almost like schools within a school or little families within a school. And so basically inspired by that model, we want to have more of that. We have a lot of academic specializations, Holland Medical High School, the LIFT, we have the Center for Innovation at McMurray, which is kind of a STEM magnet school. Our community told us we want more of those kinds of advanced academic options. And so not only do we want to let people choose their school, does my child go to this school or that school, we want to also have those schools embrace things like Stafford has done with the Ron Clark model, so that parents have really, really cool things to choose from in addition to having the freedom to choose. And then lastly, there are a lot of grant opportunities through TEA right now to embed things like STEM opportunities and advanced academics in schools. And so it's very timely right now to begin looking at how can we offer those things so that we can take advantage of those grant funds to help enhance what we offer the community.
Awesome, thank you. We'll talk to Superintendent Joey Light now over at our friends over at Wiley. And so for us, we know Wiley, as we know for several years, of course, now, is responding to a bit of the opposite issues for AISD, as you have, of course, quickly increasing in student enrollment. So, of course, 2023, as you talked to us last year, too, the district voted that $240 million in bond money that was passed. So that was all very much so aimed at expanding facilities, programs to handle so much of that growth. So can you give us an update on how those projects are going and what's coming down the pike on that?
Sure, but before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to, I appreciate Doug being here today. You know, Doug hadn't been in front of lights like this since the last time we were in a police lineup, and I'm glad to see that you're out on parole for today. It's a big step, and that 12-step program is going to come in handy.
I have a microphone too,
oh,
Joey.
Oh boy, okay. Let me just say, first of all, that we really appreciate our community stepping up to the plate, and it's such a big ask that we had. A lot of members of our school board are here today. And, you know, when we got the results of the bond election, we just felt like it was time to get after it. And so the charge from the board was, hey, Joey, you need to get out there and do as much as you can, as fast as you can with the bond money that we have, so our community can see that we're serious about what we've told them. I feel like I may need to be on the sloth exhibit at the Abilene Zoo, because it just takes a while to get out there and get some of these things done. Immediately, the board meeting right after the bond election, commitments were made. 3,000 Chromebooks were purchased. We had 11 buses ordered. We immediately started the process of building 12 tennis courts. We started working on a turf field, surprisingly, mainly for our bands, to get those kiddos off the parking lot during the heat of the summer. We also, that same turf field is going to be used for baseball, softball, soccer, and football, so it's going to be really utilized. We're really proud of that. Our first issue, because of the crowd that we have, the enrollment growth at our high school, was to work towards getting a high school addition as quickly as we could, and we're looking at a 60 classroom addition, but in order to put it to where we felt like it needed to be, we first needed to build an ag building. So currently we are working on an ag building. We're about ready to pour the foundation for that. We are also working on a new elementary, which is down Buffalo Gap Road. If you'll turn to the west at Buffalo Gap and 707, we're about 800 yards down the road on the south side, and we're got a lot of dirt work done, and they've worked on getting the pad in shape so we can start the process on that foundation. Let me just say that we've got other things that are on our agenda. One is expansion of our East Intermediate. We built basically phase 1 of our East Intermediate, and we'll build a phase 2. And as we work towards those things, we're also reaching back to the campuses that are over 30 years old, and we're giving them a facelift. We're putting in new flooring, we're painting, and we're also addressing the infrastructure on technology. We're recabling campuses, and we're making sure that we've got Wi-Fi that can handle the load of all these new Chromebooks we bought. So it's an exciting time to be in Wiley ISD. Our demographers are predicting we'll have about 7,500 kids. We currently have 5,500 in the next 6 or 7 years. So we've got to get ready for those kids, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, as we talk about growth, south side, of course, for Wiley, that goes out into the county as well. So talk to Judge Phil Crowley too about this. Talk about, what is that looking like for the county as there may be needs for infrastructure investment, and then, in particular, in this last election cycle, knowing that for Sheriff Ricky Bishop talking about the needed investment maybe in his department and those facilities. So where does things stand for you all with the county?
Thank you, appreciate that. Good afternoon, Maury. Thank you for hosting us here today. We really appreciate it. I know you did a lot of work on it. I also want to congratulate you on that viral video with Councilwoman Albus reminding everyone to clean up after their dog. And I want you to know I nominated that for Academy Award for Best Short Documentary. So fingers crossed in April. We'll see what happens. Infrastructure is always a challenge, just in terms of roads. That's what you think of first, right? Sorry, Mayor, for mentioning roads. It always, like I said, always comes up, right? We spend about $6.3 million on roads. A lot of roads for Wiley, for instance, are state highways, and so they work on those and kind of maintain those. But we do, of course, have some county roads that we keep up. Belle Plains Road is important to Wiley ISD, important to Jim Ned, so that's a big road we work on in terms of schools. With the rest of infrastructure, though, this last budget, we were looking at about $16 million of infrastructure projects that we need to work on. Things like re-roofing the jail. It was a 20, 30-year-old roof that we need to replace, and that cost had doubled in recent years. We need to look at fiber projects to make sure that the county stays connected, especially in times of emergency, adding a second layer of connectivity. We also wanted to look at the Expo Center, repaving the Expo Center, because a lot of people may not realize the Expo Center brings in, just a conservative estimate, and this is before all the upgrades, $20 million a year to the local economy. So that's something that the county really wants to maintain and improve so that we can continue contributing to the economy. Also, in terms of infrastructure, two more things I kind of want to draw your attention to. Something that the county really spends a lot of money on is law and order. And one portion of that, of course, is the sheriff's office, constable's office. I'll get to that in a second. But the court system, the law portion. And we spend $12 million a year on 15 different courts that hear different cases around the county. But it's not just the courts, so you have to support the district clerk and the county clerk. That's another $2 million. You have to support the DA's office that represents the state. That's another $5 million a year. You have to pay for court-appointed attorneys for criminal cases or CPS cases. That's another $5 million a year. And so that's something that the county really spends a lot of money on. Something I wanted to talk about that I talked about last year, I said that the Taylor County EMS calls, which is a nonprofit, their calls have doubled since 2015, so we want to go out for bid and get some more ambulance service. We've now tripled our ambulance service out in the county. So we've gone from one full-time and one part-time ambulance to 3 full-time stations. You have one in Tuscola, 24/7, first time ever. We have one 24/7 station in Merkel, first time since 2015. And then you also have that View Caps station 24/7 still. And moral of the story, our response times have dropped by almost 50% since October. So that's another important infrastructure. Yeah, we're excited about that. Thank you. You mentioned the sheriff's office. Part of the reason I ran for county judge was to spend more money on public safety. On public safety, get that second part. As a prosecutor, that was really important to me, and I wanted to increase our emergency services like the ambulance, but also the sheriff's office. So out of a $110 million budget, we spent about $33 million on the sheriff's department and the jail, so it is a significant investment. We did add 4 sheriff office employees this year. We added a detective to hear cases sent from patrol, work on those cases. Added a school resource officer to make sure that our rural school districts are protected. Added 2 correctional officers at the jail. And those 4 alone were $250,000. So you can imagine if you start increasing a bunch at one time, what that's going to do to the budget. But we are trying to slowly increase like we did this year. But something to keep in mind, besides just the people, you have to pay for Tahoes for them, you have to pay for equipment for them, and so it gets pretty expensive pretty quick, but we do want to keep adding people as we can.
Awesome, thank you. A question here for Doug Peters of the Chamber. As we kind of turn our attention a little bit more back to downtown, of course, hearing about Cypress Street earlier. But of course, the Chamber is home to the Downtown Initiative. And so a question here talks a little bit more about how that supports downtown business and really what are you hearing from the Chamber, within the Chamber, from your members of how downtown business is doing, how healthy it is, and what they need.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mari, for all your hard work. And Mayor, great job earlier. Robert, your retirement's rejected. You have to stick around a little bit longer. We're not done. We have more work to do. Downtown is a very unique environment. It was designed and laid out and built back before the advent of the automobile. That's why our streets are wide enough to turn a team of horses. So there are some unique challenges that come with downtown environments. But I will tell you that through a process that we undertook back, I think, in 2016, the Chamber was able to bring roughly 1,200 individuals from all around the region, folks that you wouldn't think have any interest in our downtown. But we tried to encourage people to participate in this vision casting exercise by telling them that downtown is really everybody's neighborhood. And we had a lot of great participation, a lot of great vision. You can't do all of it. I remember taking that final document over to Robert Hannon, and he said, who's going to pay for all that? And I said, well, the beauty of this plan is that if we do it right and we do it together, it doesn't need to be a taxpayer burden. It can be driven in large part by the private sector. And I think you're seeing a lot of private sector investment in the downtown. It's incumbent on all of us to support those businesses that are downtown, just like we support those businesses along Buffalo Gap Road, the construction process that started back in 1928 out on Buffalo Gap. We have to remember they're there. We have to remember they're struggling. We have to remember that if we don't go there, chances are no one else will either. And that same thing stands true with our own downtown. Downtown to me is a very important first impression for folks who visit our community, just like our airport. People make a snap judgment on how well we as a community take care of ourselves when they come into the downtown, and that's why we're so lucky as a community to have people like Judy Matthews and the Dodge Jones Foundation, who laid an incredible foundation for all of us to kind of stand on. And there's just so much going on, but I would encourage you to think about how you can be an active part in supporting just one small component of this community. We are so fortunate to have a downtown that is not on a respirator, that is thriving. But those folks have challenges, just like any other business in any other part of our community, and it takes all of us to help address those.
Thank you. Moving over to Missy Mayo with the DCOA. It's been such a chill time for you, such a chill time. You know, President Trump announcement of Project Stargate did bring national attention to data center development, and so Abilene has certainly been part of that conversation with all that. So DCOA's, of course, your innovative approach has brought in so many projects, namely also coming in here with the Lancium project, which was over 3 years ago, but the kind of sort of stress point for us is that for Abilene, that was over 3 years ago. This has been something developing, but of course, as it becomes more news and buzzwords out there, a lot of people are now coming back and they're asking, what exactly is Lancium? What does this mean for us here in Abilene? And just what should we expect here in the months and years to come?
Thank you, Mari. So the Development Corporation works to grow a future for Abilene. We're working every day to grow a future for you, for your family members. You know, I always say that I work every day to ensure that my children can stay in Abilene and can work here and prosper and grow their families. I say that it takes a tremendous amount of work, and you're hearing from everyone up here the teamwork, the community together that we're building. Now, the DCOA is laser focused on accomplishing two things and growing that future. The two things are growing the commercial tax base, and we're growing new jobs, because it's with new jobs and with new tax base that we're able to guarantee the prosperity of our community for years to come. Now, Lancium, of course, is the most notable, I will say, over the last 5 years. We've worked at the DCOA to attract 40 company expansions. That is a record number. Most of the largest projects in the history of our community have happened in the last 5 years. And when I say happened, what I'm talking about is these companies like Lancium and Caruso are making a commitment to be a part of our community. They're making a commitment to spend their money in Abilene and grow that commercial tax base. So with us today, we have representatives from Lancium and Caruso. So welcome home to Abilene. We have spent almost 5 years working with Lancium on the development that apparently has been just an overnight success in the last 2 weeks. You know, you work 5 years for 2 weeks worth of recognition. So thank you very much for that, Lancium. Lancium is building a master development for a data center. Everyone has a phone. I know you probably have your phone in your hand right now. those phones require data. It's a giant electronic filing cabinet. I say that with hesitation to the Lancium folks because that's a little dismissive of how complicated it is and what a complex type of industry it is. What it does represent for Abilene is a new industry. And again, when we're able to grow commercial tax base and diversify the types of jobs and the types of industries, that diversification is a strength and is a future for Abilene.
Awesome, thank you. I know we want to be mindful of folks' time here, so as we get a little closer to the 5 o'clock, we're at about 4:40 right now. So I think we can make just one more round and just sort of, keep things moving for everyone before we wrap things up here for today. So wanted to follow up quickly here as we also, just talking about Lansing with DCUA, and so again for Mayor and Mr. Hanna, there's been questions as we just talked about water. What does the water component mean for something like these data centers, and is there a concern there or conversation around that?
Thank you, Mayor. So one of the great advantages of partnering with wonderful companies like Lancium and Crusoe is that they really take into account their environmental footprint and their environmental accountability. They have a new way or a responsible way of cooling their systems with a closed-loop system. And we are working with them, and they're working with us to be able to do industrial pretreatment of the discharge of that water as it leaves the system, so it's able to be used again in other areas as it goes through the whole nature's process in our treatment facilities. So I really just want to applaud them publicly for thinking about that coming here in West Texas, knowing that's an issue for us. And then energy as well. They have also a big thing. We had a citizen come to the council meeting today and talk about what's going to happen if we have another winter storm. Well, again, the beauty of Lancium and Crusoe's approach is that they're planning ahead for that. They're making sure they have the energy resources and energy production capability to handle their own needs. And so they're not going to be this big drain on the grid. So I'm excited that they're here. I'm excited about their community engagement and the responsible nature in which they're growing their business.
Robert, let me add that we are excited about Lansing being here, and we're proud. Abilene, Texas, Taylor County, this area is going to have the biggest data center in the country, maybe in the world. These are questions that we ask these companies. We ask about water. We ask about the use of power. And they gave us responsible answers. And I just want to say, once again, we are excited that they are here.
Dr. Kuhn, coming back to you as you were, talking about the strategic plan, and I think a lot of questions around the word. You're using the word choice, and of course, as we know, with the school voucher conversations going on, that does, when you come to the word choice, it does bring some concern with that. So, talk to us about the intention behind using the word choice, as you did a little bit, and what this means for making sure all schools and kids are well supplied for.
Yeah, so we chose to use the word choice on purpose. We want to co-opt that whole idea. Obviously, most people in this area are opposed to vouchers. I'm opposed to vouchers, and the voucher movement has called itself the school choice movement, and it's a misnomer because parents have always had choices in Texas. You can send your kid to Abilene ISD. You can send your kid to Wiley ISD. You can send your kid to one of the surrounding smaller school districts. You can homeschool. You can send them to a private school. You can put them on your computer and do K-12 online education. So there's tons of choices for parents. And we want to expand that internally so that if you are at a school and you feel like another school best suits your needs or the needs of your child, that you as a parent feel like you have the freedom to choose between those schools. And we want to expand this idea across the entire district. So I mentioned earlier that what we're doing this year involves 3 schools, Stafford, Purcell, and Martinez, and we're calling that Circle 1. That is a circle of schools. And what we envision with this pilot next year is if we work out all the kinks and it is well received by our parents and our students and they like having that freedom to choose, and if they don't want to choose, they're free to stay in their community school, and we think most people will. But if the model works, we get all the kinks worked out when it comes to transportation, when it comes to all the logistics of choosing, then we would like to have 4 circles in the following school year, so that wherever you live in Abilene ISD, you have a choice of 2 or 3 schools rather than just the school you're assigned to. But yeah, calling it a school choice pilot or a parent choice pilot, we did that deliberately, really to communicate that inside the public school system, parents have lots of choices, and we're proud of that.
Thank you. Superintendent Light, you became a very popular guy with a lot of students when you all nixed the cell phones. How is that going? That was the question. How is that going for everyone?
Let me phone a friend, and I'll tell you. No, let me just say this. Again, you know, whenever you are trying to do the best thing you can for kids, and I think we've got a staff that really looks at a lot of these issues, and at the time this came up, I think there was a groundswell of recognizing that social media and some of the things that come along with cell phones are not good for kids all the time. And so I'll say this, our high school principal, Reagan Berry, brought it to us. I thought, man, that's a big issue to take on. And she is very strong about her position on that. And so I've been really pleased and surprised at how well it's done. I just think that not only have our students bought into it, but our teachers have bought into it, and it's made it be successful. So I'm thankful that we were able to do that, and I think it's good for our kids, and I look forward to the future with that policy in place.
Thank you. To Judge Crawley, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit, as we've watched in the news, unfortunately, all the, terrible situation for folks in LA with the fires, and I think seeing that reminded us all, of course, just a few years ago, what we were dealing with mesquite heat and all that, and of course, the great response that the Sheriff's Department had, and no loss of life in that. So it just kind of reminded us of that conversation as we get into, again, here we are with wildfire season. What the, I don't say temperature is, but with our volunteer fire departments, how are they doing? How do we best support them? And just what does that look like out there for us now?
Yeah, so we have 12 volunteer fire departments in Terra County, and they're phenomenal, heroes, every single one of them. Terra County is blessed that the View Fire Chief is also, just happens to be our Terra County Sheriff. That definitely comes in handy at times of emergency, so we're thankful for that. They're definitely prepared. You know, they're always prepared, and they're doing a great job. The county does try to support them. The last 3 years, the county has funded their requested increase. And then we also passed out about $16,000 in ARPA money to each of the 12 departments before the end of 2024. The public can definitely support them. Of course, judges can't fundraise, so I'm not telling you to give money to the volunteer fire departments, but that is an option. People like options, right? And also, you can serve on a volunteer fire department, and we really need that. Volunteers on the department are down among most of them. There are some exceptions to that, but we need people to serve on those because the alternative, if that doesn't happen, is you might have to create an emergency services district that funds paid firefighters, and that would be another taxing entity, and the county really doesn't want to go down that road. And so we hope we can keep this system going. One thing that also ties into it, what I wanted to say, I'm so thankful for DCOA and their board and Misty Mayo and Julie and the whole team for bringing Lancium in and all the other projects. Also thankful to the city for investing in DCOA and letting the county partner with y'all, because we're going to use that additional tax revenue each year to invest in emergency services. And one thing I wanted to point out, and a good example of that is the Sheriff's Office. Something else that I failed to mention last time that makes it tough. There's SB 22 money where each county under a certain population gets $500,000 each year from the state. And some of these smaller counties are using that money to invest in salaries. So we now have smaller counties around us that are able to pay their correctional officers more, their deputies more. And so what Terra County has focused on in the budget these last couple of years, instead of adding a bunch of new deputies and correctional officers all the time, is trying to get those salaries up. And so that's a challenge. And we're using our SB 22 money for things like rifles and things like that, equipment that the Sheriff's Office needs, and maybe we'll be able to afford with Lancium money down the line, but we don't have money for it right now. So it's really all circular, and just going to appreciate DCOA or City of Abilene more. or Lancium.
I wanted to ask Doug with the Chamber, since we last met, and I'm asking this, of course, because the Chamber is home to the Military Affairs Committee as well, but since we last met, we did get that official announcement of Dias being home to the B-21 Raider coming down. So, of course, we're only going to know what we need to know when the Air Force needs to let us know what we need to know as far as with the Raider coming. But at this point in time, just how can we best prepare to capitalize, I think, from a business standpoint, on the opportunities that the B-21 may bring for folks?
Sure, that's a great question, and one that we get often. I want to first say that the work that the Chamber does, we accomplish very little on our own. If not for partnerships with organizations like the Development Corporation and their board, Misty and her great team, the city of Abilene, Taylor County, most of our schools, generally Wiley, we're in a very fortunate place. But with growth, with opportunity comes commitment. And about 73 years ago, the War Committee of the Abilene Chamber of Commerce converted into the Military Affairs Committee. And since that happened, this community has run alongside the interest of Dias Air Force Base, our airmen and their families, every single day. They are the Military Affairs Committee that is led by our Vice President, Gray Bridwell, has done an incredible job by utilizing volunteers like Katie Alford, Greg, and the whole crew. In fact, they, I think, leave tomorrow to go to Washington to tell the Abilene story and to be able to bring back support for Dias and our airmen. A lot happens inside that fence that we don't know about, and that's intentional, but I can tell you the fact that we have been able to get, that MAC has been able to get, that this community has been able to get the next generation long-range strike bomber and keep the B-1 flying. That impact to this community, the jobs, the relationships that we all have. Look next door, odds are you have an airman or a family member living pretty close to you. We go to church with these folks. We go to school with these folks. Having Dias is a big, big part of this community. And again, I want to publicly acknowledge the fact that we do this as a team. And if not for the support of the city, the county, and certainly the Development Corporation, it would be a much, much more difficult task.
Thank you, thank you. I'll have our last question here this afternoon for, of course, Missy with the DCOA. As we've heard about all the great projects and corporations you brought into town, but also part of the DCOA is, of course, sustaining business here in Abilene, too, as part of your vision. So I think a question for a lot of people is, if you are a local business owner, how do you tap into what the DCOA has to offer and to grow your business?
That's a great question, and I think it's important to point out that out of those 40 contracts that we've actually partnered with companies on, again, that's companies making a commitment to spend their money and grow new jobs and help retain existing jobs. Out of those 40, 33 of them have been with local existing companies. So 33, likely someone sitting next to you is a representative from one of those companies that the Development Corporation of Abilene has partnered with. That happens to, again, today's theme of together as a community. That happens because we have a city council that has made one of their major priorities encouraging economic growth. We have a county that has committed, a commissioner's court that has committed to economic development and partnering with the city. That's a real opportunity for us to truly launch our community to the next level, because you have everyone working together. You have a chamber with the business representation working together to grow the industry that we're bringing into Abilene. So how you contact the Development Corporation, how you see connections with those 40 companies that we've helped to expand in Abilene is you go to developabilene.com. We have each one of the companies represented, and the companies that have opportunities for jobs, the companies that have opportunities for vendor relationships, there is a link for each one of those companies at developabilene.com.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank our panel so much for being with us here. And again, if someone had submitted a question, either here in person or online, we will work to get responses to you on those specifically here as we follow up today. But thank you all so much for your time and being with us and sitting here in the bright lights. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Hanna just to close out our portion here today.
Let's hear it for our panel again. What a true group of experts. We just have 5 minutes, and I don't have a whole lot to say because no one wants to hear anybody talk about themselves for 5 minutes. But thanks, Doug. But hope y'all didn't hear that. I've spent 25 years in public service in the city management career and field, and while not all those years have been as a city manager, at least 19 of them have been. And I will tell you that I have worked in great communities across this state of ours. There's no better state in the union than Texas, and there's no better community or city in Texas than Abilene, Texas. Everything we do, we have to fight for. We have to roll our sleeves up, we have to claw and scratch and fight to get it because we're out here all on our own on the West Central Texas Plains. And even though I was born and raised in Fort Worth, I'm proud to call myself an Abilenian. I plan on staying here with my family. We plan on growing this community in other ways through the private sector. And I just wanted to say two things. One, thank you for allowing me to serve for almost 10 years. It has been the honor of my professional career to be the city manager of this wonderful community. We have had so many incredible elected officials and public servants come through this organization. Some are here, some have moved on to other things as they've grown their career. We wish them the best. But every time they were here, they added something to this community and made it better. I hope I have been able to do the same. And then finally, I have a challenge for y'all. What are you going to do? How are you going to help Abilene be the best version of itself? I'm looking at a room full of businesswomen and businessmen, leaders in their field, leaders in their community. Let's roll our sleeves up. Let's make this the best frickin' place on the planet. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here.